Part 257. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2561. Chapter 2561 No hobby of recycling garbage. Of course the woman knew that Moyesi disliked her. She just had the courage to wink at Moyesi, but he was disgusted by him. She had heard about some of Moyesi's deeds before. It is said that he is pure in heart and has few desires, and is not close to women. No matter how beautiful a woman is, he will not take a second look at her. But he is a man who loves his wife very much. He didn't bother to look at other women, but he doted on his actress wife to the extreme. At that time, many of her little sisters were very envious and said that if the husbands they find in the future can be 1/10 as good as Moyesi, they will be satisfied and have no regrets. At that time, she didn't think so. I also think the rumors are a bit exaggerated. After all, men all have the same virtues. She didn't believe there was such a clean and dedicated man in this world. And he is a rich and powerful man. What does such a man want? There must be a lot of temptations around you. It is impossible to withstand temptation for a lifetime. But the temptation just now made her feel like she was simply humiliating herself. Yes, Zhao, Mr. Zhao. The woman glanced at Moyesi with an embarrassed look on her face, turned around and left with a bit of unwillingness in her eyes. Moyesi watched her leave expressionlessly. When the middle-aged man saw Moyesi looking at his little love, he rolled his eyes and showed an ambiguous smile. He thought he was very generous and said, "What do you think of Manly, Mr. Mo? She has been with me for a year. Yes, I can really serve people very well. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let her stay with me for so long. But although it's rare to find someone so happy, as long as Mr. Mo likes her, I can let her go." Before the middle-aged man finished speaking, Moyesi's face suddenly turned gloomy. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment, and he still didn't understand why his expression suddenly changed. "Mr. Zhao, I don't want to hear this kind of thing again in the future. I don't want this kind of thing to affect the relationship between my wife and I. If you like this kind of messy woman, just keep it. I don't have the hobby of recycling garbage." Moyesi's face was solemn and his voice was cold. "I think we'll discuss the cooperation later. I have something else to do, so I won't accompany you." After saying that, he stood up and left with a cold face. The middle-aged man watched him leave just like that. He was stunned for a while before he came back to his senses. Only then did I realize that he seemed to have said something he shouldn't have said, which offended Moyesi. Before, he only heard from others that Moyesi valued his wife very much and doted on his wife. Some people say that offending Moyesi's wife is more serious than offending him himself. If you offend him personally, you may still have a chance to survive. But if he offended his wife, he would definitely die. The middle-aged man originally didn't take these rumors seriously. He is also a man, so he naturally knows men best. People like them are born with wealth and power, and they can easily get everything they want, especially when it comes to women. No matter what kind of woman they are, they can't get it with just a few clicks of their fingers. In his opinion, women are just items that can be bought with money. No matter how beautiful a woman is, the same is true. What's the difference? It's the difference between spending more and spending less. So, he is a typical person who keeps red flags at home but colorful flags flutter outside. He has more than one love child outside, and his wife also knows these things. It's just that we turn a blind eye and pretend we don't know. He didn't expect that a man like Moyesi could actually take his wife so seriously. Had he known earlier, he wouldn't have said those words just now. Originally I wanted to please him, but I didn't expect that it would end up causing trouble. But how could he know that there really was such a man who didn't cheat? He and the friends around him, who doesn't have a few little lovers? In their circle, men who don't have a little love child are considered to be different. Oh, my mouth, the middle-aged man looked at Mo Yessis quickly leaving back, with a look of annoyance on his face. Mo Yessi left early. There is no way to discuss the business that we want to discuss for the time being. The middle-aged man sighed boredly and was not in the mood to continue playing. He stood up with an annoyed look on his face and planned to leave. Originally, I came out this time to negotiate a cooperation with Mr. Mo. Thinking of what he had screwed up, the middle-aged man sighed heavily again. He turned and walked towards the locker room. But when he walked out of the rest area, he saw a familiar figure. He paused and stared at the figure for a few seconds. After confirming that he had recognized the right person, he immediately stepped forward to say hello to the person he saw. "Young Master Gong, what a coincidence, are you here to play golf today too?" The slender and tall black figure stopped. The man with a feminine and handsome appearance raised his head and looked at the middle-aged man with a pair of long, narrow, and beautiful phoenix eyes without emotion. He had an indifferent expression on his face. Seeing that he was someone he knew, he gave a faint hum. Mr. Zhao and Mr. Gong have also collaborated several times. Gong Zili had some impressions of him. As the middle-aged man approached, he realized that Gong Zili was not alone. There was a woman standing next to him. This is not a strange thing. In the past, when Gong Zili went out to socialize, there were also women with him. Different from Mo Yessi, he has not had much trouble with the women around him in these years. So when Gong Zili brought a woman here, the middle-aged man didn't pay much attention to it. However, just when the middle-aged man was about to look away, the woman suddenly raised her head, revealing a face that looked somewhat familiar. The middle-aged man couldn't help but be startled, and then he realized that this woman was actually a young girl. She looked pure, and she seemed to be a college student. This is not a strange thing. Among the few lovers he has raised, there are also 2 college students. Men, who doesn't like delicate little girls? It's just that the female companions Miyazawa brought out in the past were all beautiful and mature, but this was the first time he saw such a young and immature girl. So the middle-aged man couldn't help but take a second look. Looking at each other, I could see something was wrong. Why did he feel that this little girl looked so familiar, as if he had seen her before somewhere? The middle-aged man frowned and thought for a few seconds. Suddenly, there was a change in his eyes. When he looked at the little girl in front of him, his eyes became a little more intriguing. He said he felt strangely familiar. How come this little girl looks a bit similar to Mo Yessi's precious wife? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2562. Chapter 2562. He is no longer interested in taking a look. Mr. Gong. The little girl next to him seemed to be a little scared by his stare, and she hid behind Miyazawa with a defensive look on her face. Don't be afraid, this is Mr. Zhao from Hongyuan. He is a friend of mine in the business world. Gong Zili looked at the expression on the middle-aged man's face and said in an indifferent voice, "Mr. Zhao has been staring at me just now. Look at her, is there something wrong?" "No, there's no problem." Although the middle-aged man had some doubts in his heart, he didn't dare to say it out loud. He immediately withdrew his scrutinizing eyes. I saw that the young lady next to Mr. Gong looked familiar, so I looked more closely. A few glances. "Oh, looks familiar." Gong Zili curled his lips, but there was no smile in his eyes. "Mr. Zhao, what do you think looks familiar?" This smile immediately made the middle-aged man feel a little creepy. How dare he tell the truth? Unless it's life-threatening. Speaking of which, he has cooperated with Mr. Gong several times, and he and the Mr. Gong in front of him can be regarded as business partners. But he did not dare to offend the prince of the Gong family, who had never had a good reputation at all. No one in Yunchinj knows the temper of the crown prince of the Gong family. This man is a person with an unstable personality, moody, and may fall out at any time and at any time. Don't look at him smiling at you now. But there is a knife hidden in this smile. So even if a middle-aged man guesses something in his mind, he is determined not to say it out loud. Ha ha ha, I was dazzled just now, and it looked a bit similar. Now I look at it again, and it doesn't look like it anymore. Since the young master has an appointment with the beautiful woman, I won't bother you. If the young master is willing to show his favor in another day, I can treat him well. One less drink. Master Gong, I'll take the first step. See you another day. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he didn't dare to look at her any longer, turned around and left quickly. He walked very fast, as if someone was chasing him behind him, and his steps were hurried. Gong Zili glanced in the direction he left, with a silent sneer on his lips. Fourth brother, I didn't expect you to arrive before me. As soon as the middle-aged man left, Gong Zili heard a voice behind him. He turned around and saw Yan Shaoqing walking towards him with a hot female companion. It was another unfamiliar face. It seemed that it was Yan Shaoqing's new love. The woman looks very beautiful. At first glance, she is stunning. She is a great beauty with a first-rate figure and appearance. But Gong Zili's eyes only stayed on that woman for a second, but he looked away indifferently. Except her. No matter how beautiful other women are, they are boring to look at. He thought he liked Shenro before. But he didn't feel this way about Shenro. He has no strong possessive desire for Shenro. It doesn't matter whether she is interested in other women or not because of her. But his feelings towards Chiao Mian were different. After realizing that he liked her, there was no other woman around him. Those women are not her. He was no longer interested in even taking a look. Only now does he know what it's like to truly like someone. He also realized that he had never really liked Shenro. Even before he knew the truth, his feelings for Shenro were just gratitude and had nothing to do with the relationship between men and women. Yan Shaoqing walked to Gong Zili with his new love in his arms. His long, narrow, peach blossom eyes were originally smiling, but when he saw the petite figure still standing behind Gong Zili at that time, he became surprised and speechless. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2563. Chapter 2563. Pay attention to your title from now on. Lao Si, why are you still? When Yan Shaoqing was about to say why he hadn't sent this little girl away yet, he suddenly thought of the last time he made someone cry, and he changed his words again. Why doesn't this little girl go to school? How can I follow you? Come out together. During the internship period, the time is relatively relaxed, Gong Zili said lightly. Oh, Yan Shaoqing nodded. Yan young master. Susu walked out from behind Gong Zili, pursed her lips and glanced at Yan Shaoqing timidly, and called out quietly. Hearing her greeting sound as quiet as a mosquito, Yan Shaoqing pulled his lips and responded perfunctorily, yes. His voice was to give Gong Zili face. He really doesn't like this little girl named Susu. She looked timid as a mouse, and her voice would be frightened even if he made it slightly louder. As if he were some kind of jackal, tiger, or leopard. Looking at him, he looked very scared. Isn't this funny? He said that Shaoqing should have good looks, a good figure, a good family background, be gentle and considerate towards women, and be compassionate towards women. When women saw him, they were only fascinated and dizzy, but not afraid of him. This was the first time in his life that he was being guarded like a savage beast. He must have felt very unhappy. Moreover, this Susu is also Chiao Mianmian's substitute. This made Yan Shaoqing feel even more uncomfortable. Are you kidding? Anyone can replace a fairy like my sister-in-law. This Susu is somewhat similar in appearance and eyes, but compared with her sister-in-law, she is still far behind. There are differences in appearance, temperament, and personality. I really don't know what the fourth guy is thinking. I thought he would have sent Susu away long ago after talking to him heart to heart for so long last time, but I didn't expect that he would actually keep her by his side. Susu could also feel that Yan Xiaoqing didn't like her, so after saying hello, she stood aside silently. She knew why Yan Xiaoqing didn't like her. She also knew that if she had any backbone, she should leave Gong Zili. But she can't do it. She really likes Gong Zili. Like him, even if he knows that he is just a substitute, he is willing to stay by his side. She even thought humbly that luckily she looked like the woman he liked, so she had the opportunity to be by his side. Does this little girl know how to play? You bring her here. Yan Xiaoqing glanced at Susu, who had her head lowered and her hands neatly folded in front of her, looking like a frustrated little daughter-in-law. She was not very interested. If not, wouldn't it be boring to watch us play with her? She doesn't know how. You can have someone teach her. Miyazawa turned around and walked towards the locker room. She can also wait for us in the rest area. If she gets bored, she can go back at any time. Yan Xiaoqing was stunned for a moment, then immediately took steps to follow him. He shrugged and said, "Okay, just make arrangements for your woman. I'm just worrying about it." Susu also followed Gong Zili and naturally heard what Yan Xiaoqing said. The words "your woman" made her heart beat suddenly and hard. Her face suddenly felt hot, and she subconsciously raised her head to look at Gong Zili. Would he admit it? Acknowledge that she is his woman? Seeing Gong Zili pause in his steps, he turned his head and looked at Yan Xiaoqing with his narrow, dark eyes half-lidded. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2564. Chapter 2564. This guy is really heartless. Yan Xiaoqing also stopped and raised his eyebrows with a cynical look. He raised his lips and raised his eyes and said, "What's wrong? Did I say anything wrong?" "Well, I said it wrong," Gong Zili said expressionlessly. "She is not my woman. Pay attention to what you call her in the future." "Not your woman." Yan Xiaoqing raised his eyebrows even higher. He glanced at Susu, whose face instantly turned pale. He pondered over the words playfully, and then said with a smile, "Fourth child, don't you want to tell me that you spend money to raise this little girl just to look after her? You haven't." "You can shut up," Gong Zili interrupted him coldly, with a warning in his eyes. "Do you want to play or not? If not, you can go back now." Yan Xiaoqing. Shit. Gong Laoxi's attitude made him want to beat her up. Have Gong Laoxi forgotten who asked whom to hang out with? As a brother, after receiving the invitation call, he gave up the afternoon party at sea without even thinking and came here to play golf with a grown man like him. Had it not been for years of brotherhood, how could he have done this? You know, the party in the afternoon brought together the top beauties from all over the world. Such a gathering is only held once a year. If he misses it this time, he will have to wait until next year. For the sake of his brother, he even gave up so many beauties. It's fine that Gong Laoxi is not moved, but he is still showing off to him here? It him off to death. Yan Xiaoqing was so angry. "Fourth brother, you have no conscience. If you hadn't called me, I would have hugged you right now and enjoyed my gentle land. Do you know that for you? This heartless guy, I left behind so many beauties to come find you." "Oh, really?" Gong Zili still looked calm. "It's still too late for you to go back now, I won't stop you." Yan Xiaoqing. Damn it, Gong Laoxi is really heartless. He must have had his brain damaged by the door, so he would give up his beauties for this white-eyed wolf. Forget it, it's not the first day I know what kind of character you are." Yan Xiaoqing stared at him for a while, as if accepting his fate, and said, "Next time, don't think about it again." He called me out with just one phone call. Let me tell you, I won't be so easy to make appointments with in the future. He said that Xiaoqing didn't want to lose face. Oh, Gong Zili still had the same indifferent tone that made people angry, and his voice was also indifferent. "So, are you leaving now or not?" Yan Xiaoqing. TMD. Why didn't he know that Gong Zili could be so capable of irritating people before? "I don't care about you, do you think I'm as stingy as you? Anyway, I haven't exercised for a long time, it's good to play ball and relax. I'm going to change my clothes. Let's have a good PK game in a while. The loser will have all the other party's expenses tonight, plus a car. Do you dare to bet?" Gong Zili slowly raised the corners of his lips. "If you insist on giving me money, of course I have no reason to refuse." Haha, hearing him speak so arrogantly, Yan Xiaoqing smiled coldly. "It's not certain who gives money to whom. If you say it's so early now, aren't you afraid of being slapped in the face? Then give it a try." "Okay, just give it a try." The two of them quickly walked into the dressing room to change clothes. The female companion brought by Yan Xiaoqing also walked towards the ladies' dressing room. After taking 2 steps, he saw Susu still standing there with a pale face, so he called her, "Little sister, aren't you going to change clothes?" Susu seemed to have just come back to her senses, and looked away from her absent-minded gaze. She is young and does not know how to hide her feelings. The face and eyes are full of loss and sadness, and I haven't had time to hide it. Although she also knew that she was not Gong Zili's woman yet. But when I heard him denying this matter personally, I still felt sad. Yes, he raised her. But he only raised her and did not touch her. As for why he didn't touch her, Susu naturally knew the reason. He has a person in his heart. Because she looked somewhat similar to that man, she was lucky enough to be favored by him and raised by him. But that's all. He regarded her as a substitute for that person, but he knew in his heart that she was not that person. So he raised her but would not touch her. How could he bother to touch a substitute? "Little sister, do you like young Master Gong?" The woman brought by Yan Xiaoqing was a smart person. She could see Susu's thoughts at a glance. She found it funny and tried to be a good person and gave a verbose advice. "Little sister, I have been through this for a long time. Listen to me, the most taboo thing for people in our profession is to lose your heart. You must not be stupid. People like Gong Xiaoyan are from 2 different worlds from us. It would not be a good thing if we have inappropriate thoughts towards them." Susu was stunned for a moment, and her face suddenly turned red. She hurriedly denied it with some embarrassment. "You misunderstood, I didn't have any unwanted thoughts towards Mr. Gong." "Really? It's best not to have any." The woman glanced at her with a charming look, and raised her red lips. "Otherwise, you will be the one who suffers in the end. People like us are just kittens in their eyes. Just like puppies. If they are in a good mood, they will give you some benefits and tease you. If they are in a bad mood, they will often kick you away. We can covet their money and power, but we must not covet their hearts. Sister sees that you are young and is afraid that you will not be able to control yourself, so she will talk to you more. I heard that young Master Gong is also he is generous, so since you have the opportunity to stay with him, you might as well think more about how to get more benefits from him. Don't think about anything else." After the woman reminded her a few words, she said nothing else and turned around to go to the dressing room. Her kind reminder, whether the other party can listen depends on whether the other party is a person who can carry it clearly. After the woman walked into the dressing room, Susu was still standing there in a daze. The most taboo thing is to lose your own heart. But what to do? The first time she saw Gong Zili, her heart was already lost. Asterisk. There were only 2 people in the locker room, Gong Zilu and Yan Xiaoqing. Yan Xiaoqing finished changing his clothes first, but did not go out immediately. Instead, he turned around and looked at Gong Zili, who was putting on his sportswear. He thought for a while and said, "Zili, that's Susu, do you want to stay with me?" End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2565. Chapter 2565. Jiao Mianmians, you don't care either? Gong Zili put on his clothes and straightened his sleeves. What, can't you do it? It's not impossible. Yan Shaoqing frowned slightly. I don't have any problem with how many women you keep by your side. That's your freedom. But that Susu, I think you should let it go. That little girl is obviously interested in you. If you fall in love, it will become a problem in the future. Yan Shaoqing saw the way Susu looked at Gong Zili just now. That TM is obviously a sign of emotion. Once such a little girl is tempted, she will be very stubborn and easy to get into trouble. In the future, it is easy to go to extremes when doing things. Anyway, it will be more troublesome if it gets stained. Of course, they are not soft-hearted people. When encountering such a thing, it can be solved if you are ruthless. But if the other party is looking for death and survival, it will always be quite troublesome, so if you can avoid getting into trouble, of course you should try not to get into it. He had met one before. As a result, he became afraid of this type of woman later on. So if anyone talks to him, he will feel scarier than seeing a ghost, and he will definitely run away faster than a rabbit. I know what to do. Gong Zili still looked calm. After changing his clothes, he turned around and walked out. Yan Shaoqing. Shit. Emotions, the emperor is not in a hurry, but the is. Fourth brother, don't take it seriously. Yan Shaoqing was so angry that he almost stamped his feet. If he hadn't thought that such behavior was too girly, he would have stamped his feet. I have suffered a loss in this kind of thing. I won't lie to you. I'm telling you, that little girl is definitely attracted to you. If you don't get her away now, it won't be that easy for you to get her away in the future when she gets deeper. Besides, have you forgotten Shenro? How did it become like this? Don't underestimate a woman's jealousy. Once she knows who the person in your heart is, she will not be able to help but be jealous of that person. Do you still want Shenro's tragedy to happen again? Even if you don't care about Susu's life or death, Chiao Mianmians, you don't care either. Yan Shaoqing tried to persuade her for a long time, but saw that Gong Zili still didn't listen. After thinking about it, she had no choice but to move Chiao Mianmian out. Lao Si doesn't care about others. But he definitely cares about Chiao Mianmian. Sure enough. Gong Zili had already reached the door and reached out to push it open. The steps stopped. Yan Shaoqing saw this and followed him a few steps. Even someone as proud as Shenro would do those things out of jealousy. Do you think Susu can't do it? Even if she can't do it now, there's no guarantee she won't hurt Chiao Mianmian in the future. If you really want to protect Chiao Mianmian, you shouldn't keep Susu by your side anymore. That's all I have to say, think about it yourself. After Yan Shaoqing finished speaking, he reached out and patted Gong Zili on the shoulder, then opened the door and walked in first. Gong Zili stood at the door, his narrow, dark eyes narrowed, and his eyes were dark and unclear. Asterisk. Susu changed her clothes and stood outside the men's locker room waiting for Gong Zili. She waited for a while, and when she saw the door opened, her eyes suddenly lit up and she took a step forward. Before I could say Mr. Gong, I saw that the person walking out was not Gong Zili. It was Yan Shaoqing, who she was a little afraid of. She was stunned for a moment, and immediately put away the trace of joy on her face. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2566. Chapter 2566. He is really worried that history will repeat itself. The brilliance in his eyes also disappeared. He lowered his eyes, bit the corner of his lip and shouted softly, "Master Yan." Yan Shaoqing gave a faint hum and paused when he walked to her side. Susu froze, with a nervous look on her face. She knew that Yan Shaoqing didn't like her. So she felt a little scared when she saw Yan Shaoqing. "Yan, what's the matter with Master Yan?" Susu couldn't help but take a small step back and distance herself from him. Yan Shaoqing saw her little move, curled his lips, and said in a lazy voice, "Little girl, you should know very well why you can stay with the fourth child, right?" Susu was stunned and raised her head suddenly. But she saw Yan Shaoqing's long and narrow peach blossom eyes staring at her with scrutiny. He usually looked unserious, giving off a feeling of frivolity and unreliability, but at this moment, being stared at by him, Susu felt that his peach blossom eyes seemed to be penetrating. Zi then revealed all her thoughts hidden deep in her heart. There was a hint of panic in her eyes. "Yan, what do you mean, Master Yan?" Susu didn't understand. "Whether you really don't understand or you are just pretending to be confused, it doesn't matter." Yan Shaoqing lowered his head and glanced at her, his eyes very indifferent, which was very different from his usual playful and informal look. "The fourth child is just confused for a moment, so he will keep you by his side. When he figures out, you will go back to where you came from. Never think about things you shouldn't think about. Don't do anything you shouldn't do just because of your extravagant thoughts. Don't worry, if you talk to Lao Si, he won't treat you badly." Susu opened her eyes wide and her face suddenly turned pale. Yan Shaoqing glanced at her again. "Stay peacefully until the day you leave. The things you can get are enough for you to have enough food and clothing for a lifetime. Otherwise, not only will you get nothing in the end, but you will also not be able to get better in the future. Little girl, be smart. You should understand what is best for you." After saying this, Yan Shaoqing ignored the shaky and pale man beside her, who looked as if he might faint at any moment, and walked past her while brushing shoulders. It's not that he maintained his identity and said these words deliberately to humiliate the other party. It was Shenrou's incident that made him really worried that history would repeat itself. That's why he would say ugly things first, so that even if the other party has any intentions, it can still serve as a deterrent. It depends on whether this girl named Susu is smart enough. If she is like those scheming women, having thoughts that she shouldn't have and hoping for things that she shouldn't, she will have to ruin her bright future. I hope he is a smart person. Otherwise, this guy Lao Si will really get into trouble. Not long after Yan Shaoqing left, the door to the dressing room was pushed open again. Gong Zili, who had changed into sportswear, walked out. Seeing him, Susu's pale little face couldn't help but reveal a shy and sweet smile, and her eyes lit up. She trotted forward 2 steps and called out softly, "Mr. Gong." Gong Zili glanced at her and said Susu's eyes fell on him. Seeing him in black sportswear, she was stunned for a few seconds, her eyes a little obsessed. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2567. Chapter 2567, Falling in Without Hesitation. Gong Zili looks like this, very different from usual. He usually wears black clothes and black trousers, has a cold and ascetic temperament, and gives people a cold feeling. Although he is still wearing black today, he looks much more casual because he is wearing casual sportswear. It no longer feels so inaccessible. The clothes are of the most conventional style, but they look particularly good on him. Susu blinked, her eyelashes trembling slightly, and she glanced at his unusually white, but also extremely handsome face, and her heartbeat couldn't help but accelerate. Mr. Gong, you are so good looking. She has never seen a better looking man than him. She also knew that she shouldn't fall in love with him. They are people from two different worlds. If you fall in love with him, there will be no good results. But she still couldn't control herself and fell. Even if you know that once you fall into it, you may never be able to get out. Still fell in without hesitation. She didn't expect too much. She felt very happy and satisfied to be able to stay by his side like now, see him often and talk to him. Even if he asked her to be a substitute for the rest of her life, she would still be willing. But when she thought of what Yan Shaoqing had just said, her bright eyes dimmed a bit. Even staying by his side like now is a luxury. Asterisk. After an hour, Yan Shaoqing panted and called a timeout. No more fighting, I'm exhausted, rest for 10 minutes, and then continue later. His face was covered with sweat. He threw the club in his hand to the staff aside, took a bottle of frozen mineral water from the hand of the beauty he brought, raised his head and drank half of the bottle in one breath. The other side. Compared with his embarrassment, Gong Zili seemed much more relaxed. There wasn't even a trace of sweat on his face, and his breathing was steady. He didn't look like he had just played golf for an hour. Miyazawa Ri calmly handed the club to the staff. He glanced at Yan Shaoqing and curled his lips. At such a young age, your body is in such a state of depletion. I advise you to be more moderate, otherwise you will be completely useless in a few years. What's the deficit? I'm in good health, young master. You're the one who's in deficit. Your whole family is in deficit. As a man, how can I tolerate being said like this? Yan Shaoqing immediately jumped to retort. Gong Zili ignored him and went straight to the side to sit down. You lost the game just now. Do you want to continue to compete with me? Beat, of course. It's not necessarily too early to say who will win or lose. Don't forget that we agreed to win or lose in 3 games. Yan Shaoqing was badly abused in the first game, but he would never let it go like this. To admit defeat. That's so shameless. Even if he loses, he must lose decently. Okay, I'll let you be convinced of the defeat. Gong Zili tugged at his lips. Mr. Gong, please drink some water. Susu took a cup of tea from the staff, put it in front of Gong Zili's table, and said softly, it's not hot, the temperature is just right. Gong Zili raised his eyes and glanced at her. Why didn't you go play? Didn't we arrange a coach for you? Susu pursed her lips. I can't learn well. I just watched Mr. Gong and Master Yan play, and it was the same. If you feel bored, go back first. Gong Zili looked into her eyes, and his voice softened a little. I will ask the driver to pick you up for dinner in the evening. Not boring at all. Gong Zili is still here, how can she be willing to leave? She was afraid that Gong Zili would ask her to leave, so she immediately said, Mr. Gong, you and Master Yan are playing with you, so don't worry about me. I really don't feel bored. I found it very interesting to watch your game just now. Gong Zili nodded, then you can stay here. Susu's eyes lit up again, with undisguised happiness in her eyes, and she smiled with her eyebrows curved. Yeah. Gong Zili looked at her dark eyes with curved eyebrows and smile, and couldn't help but be in a daze for a few seconds. These eyes really look like hers. The same thing happens when she smiles, her eyebrows are crooked, and her eyes turn into 2 crescents when she smiles. Even though he knew that what he got was just a substitute. Far less than 1/10,000th of hers. But just for the similar eyes and similar smile, he couldn't bear to let go. He also knew that he was deceiving himself. But so what? All he seeks is this little comfort. On the side, Yan Shaoqing frowned deeply as he watched the interaction between the two. What's going on with the 4th child? He thought that his previous earnest advice had finally worked, and he should have listened. But now it seems, he was talking in vain again? Looking at Gong Zili's situation, he didn't look like he was ready to send him away. He is really crazy. Even if you use Xiao Mian to persuade him, it doesn't work? Is it possible that he really likes this little substitute? Let me use your cell phone. Yan Xiaoqing was lost in thought, and Gong Zili picked up the mobile phone on the table. He came to his senses and said a little strangely, "You can't use your own mobile phone, why do you use mine? I need to make a call. The battery of my phone is almost out." Gong Zili pressed on the screen of his phone, raised his eyes to look at him, and said calmly, "What's the password? Your phone is almost out of battery, didn't I think it had enough battery before? You saw it wrong. Okay, I made a mistake. Give me your phone and I'll enter the password." Yan Xiaoqing spread his hands. Although he felt that he had read it correctly, he didn't think much about it. It's just a borrowed mobile phone. No big deal. Gong Zili handed the phone back to him. Yan Xiaoqing took it over, entered the password several times, unlocked the screen and threw the phone towards Gong Zili. "Just chat, my phone has a long standby time, you can chat all day long." Gong Zili took the mobile phone and stood up, turned around and walked to the French window in front. "Who are you calling? She's so mysterious and she's avoiding me." Yan Xiaoqing made a sound, stretched out his hand and hugged the beauty next to him onto his lap, pinched her chin and kissed her. The beauty also cooperated very well. She leaned softly in his arms, closed her eyes and kissed him passionately. Susu's face suddenly burned when she saw the two of them kissing like no one else, and she quickly moved her eyes elsewhere. She looked at the slender and upright figure standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. Her eyes first fell on the man's handsome face, and then she uncontrollably looked at his thin lips as red as blood. Suddenly, she and Gong Gong appeared in her mind. The scene of Zili kissing. As she thought about it, her face became hotter and hotter, and her heart seemed like she could hardly hold it down and would jump out of her chest in the next second. Asterisk. Gongs opened Yan Xiaoqing's circle of friends, browsed through it, and finally found Xiao Mianmian's WeChat account. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2568. Chapter 2568, secretly looking at her life trajectory. He looked at her WeChat name and profile picture, a smile appeared on his lips, and his eyes softened a bit. Her WeChat name is Mian Mian Buruanmen. The avatar is a big fat orange cat. The WeChat name goes well with the big yellow cat. It's just that the fat cat doesn't quite match her temperament and appearance. Although it looks cute, it looks like a greasy middle-aged uncle. Gong Zili felt that if Xiao Mian were a cat, she would be a sweet and well-behaved cat. For example, a ragdoll cat, or a chinchilla. Gong Zili didn't know that the cat on Xiao Mianmian's profile picture was a big orange cat raised by Mew. After Gong Zili found her WeChat account, he clicked on her circle of friends. He felt like a peeping Tom now, secretly looking through the trajectory of her life. And this was something he had never been able to do before. He has no interest in understanding anyone's life, let alone trying to find out secretly without telling others like now. He has not seen her for a long time. About her current situation, I also learned from her recent Weibo posts and Yan Xiaoqing. Want to see her? I want to see her crazy, but I can only endure it. It feels really uncomfortable. When did Gong Zili become so humble and miserable? His current behavior is both despising and ridiculous to him. But if he wanted to know more about her and get closer to her, he could only use this method. Moments are a good way to get to know a person. Gong Zili originally thought that Xiao Mian, like other girls, would post more frequently in moments, and most of them would be her selfies. However, he did not expect that after opening Xiao Mianmian's moments, it was not what he had imagined. Same. Xiao Mianmian's circle of friends is not updated frequently. She did not set any permissions to be visible for 3 days or 6 months. So Miyazawa can see all her updated friend circles. Surprisingly few. When it is frequent, it means updating once a week. More often, it may be updated only once a month. There is a circle of friends that has only been updated once every 2 months. There are not many selfies in her circle of friends. She is all about updated little things in daily life. For example, one day she ate a delicious meal that she thought was delicious. For example, one day I met a stray cat and felt that the kitten was very pitiful, so I went to the supermarket and bought ham sausage to feed the cat. Or maybe, one day she went to see a movie that she thought was very good. One of the few selfies she took was when she discovered 2 pimples on her face. She said in an aggrieved tone that her circle of friends said that she just ate hot pot for 3 days in a row, and unexpectedly she got pimples. There is another photo where she said she drank milk tea and suffered from insomnia all night, and took a selfie with dark circles under her eyes. Different from the overly distorted photoshopped photos of various girls' beauty looks, what she posted was not only barefaced, but the pixels were still taken with the original camera. The face is so close to the camera, but the photo still looks good. Her skin is white, tender and delicate, and even without using PS, no flaws can be seen. Gongzili looked at the selfie with acne and the one with dark circles, his narrow and soft phoenix eyes narrowed little by little, as if he was fascinated, and he looked at it for a long, long time. No matter how you look at it, I think Xiao Mian in these 2 selfies is extremely cute. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2569. Chapter 2569 Uncontrollable Jealousy. Even the pimples on her face are cute. Gongzili started from the first circle of friends Xiao Mian posted after registering on WeChat, to the last updated one. Xiao Mian's most recent update to a circle of friends was a week ago. Just one sentence, someone has become more and more verbose recently. Is this the rhythm of entering menopause early? Yan Xiaoqing also commented on this circle of friends, sister-in-law, my second brother is only nagging you, and he doesn't even have a single superfluous word to say to us. This is not the rhythm of entering menopause early, this is the expression of loving you, oh haha. Xiao Mian replied to Yan Xiaoqing with a sweaty expression. Mo Yesi replied to Xiao Mian, I think Xiaoqing is right. Xiao Mian, can you try another way? Mo Yesi, for example? From now on, everything you want to say will be kissed. Xiao Mian. Yan Xiaoqing, please be human, can you consider my feelings as a single person? Can you not show off your affection in the comments section? Can't you show it off slowly behind closed doors in private? Mo Yesi, if you are envious, find a wife as soon as possible. I can talk to Mr. Yan and help you arrange a few blind dates. Yan Xiaoqing, farewell, second brother, I was wrong, I hid. You and my sister-in-law just pretend that I don't exist and you can talk as much as you want. From the interaction in the comment area, it can be seen that the relationship between these people is very good. It can also be seen that Xiao Mian and Mo Yesi have a good relationship. Gongzili looked at this circle of friends and felt an uncontrollable feeling of jealousy in his heart. For a moment, he couldn't tell whether he was jealous of the good relationship between Yan Xiaoqing and Mo Yesi and Xiao Mian, or whether he was jealous of the sweet happiness between Mo Yesi and Xiao Mian in their daily replies. Or, both. He looked at it for a long time, and it was so long that Yan Xiaoqing began to urge him. He quickly wrote down Xiao Mian's WeChat ID, and then pretended to make a phone call. Asterisk. Chiao Mian was nominated for the 23rd Golden Globe Award for Best Actress for her first TV series If You Can't Love. The official blog of the Golden Globe Awards released the list of nominees. All the short-listed candidates are almost all capable actors, all of whom are veteran actors with several masterpieces under their belts. For example, Shen Fei, Qin Han, and Zhang Yanling are all powerful actors who have already won Best Actor and Best Actress awards. The rest, even those who have not won any awards, all have good reputations in the industry for their abilities. So the only newcomer, Chiao Mian, stands out. When fans see this list, they are naturally happy for their idols, as if they themselves were shortlisted. Wow, Mian's first starring role in a TV series was actually nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. Our Mian is so awesome. As a member of Mian Bing, I am so proud, so proud. The first TV series starring Mian has the highest ratings this year. Just looking at the ratings is already very good. Now he has been shortlisted for such a great award. This is a proof of Mian's strength. First, the results of this work are so good, and the future development is even more promising. However, as Mian Bing, we must not be proud. We must know that arrogant soldiers will be defeated. Mian is still a newcomer and there is still a lot to learn in the future. To be honest, I'm not surprised that Mian was nominated for Best Actress. Her performance in If You Can't Love was really great, and she wasn't weak at all when playing against a movie star like Qin Han. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2570. Chapter 2570 questioned. Furthermore, Qin Han has publicly praised her several times, which is recognition of her strength. One of the sisters was right. As a newcomer, it is really great that Mian can achieve these results, and her future is bound to be limitless. Several other seniors who were shortlisted for Best Actress are all super powerful seniors, so we Mian Bing don't expect Mian to win the award. However, being shortlisted is recognition of my strength, and I am very happy to be shortlisted. Mian is great, come on Mian Bing will always support you. While there is praise, it is inevitable that there will also be slander. Some people also expressed doubts and dissatisfaction with Chiao Mian's nomination. Am I right? Chiao Mian can actually be nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress? Look at the other 3 female artists who were nominated with her. Who is not a powerful senior in the industry? She is a newcomer, but she is also a starring role. Why was she selected for the first TV series? Can she compare with other seniors? Is there something behind this? An objective comment, Chiao Mian's performance in If You Can't Love is indeed okay. But it's not good enough to be nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. The other 3 female artists who were nominated, they all agree, but she's really not convincing. This is not a short-listed spot that was obtained by spending money or finding some connections. After all, I have a rich and powerful husband, and my natal family is also very powerful. With the power of the Bai family and the Mo family, I have always been able to get it. It's not impossible for the Golden Globe Awards to change its rules in a fair way. What the hell, Chiao Mian's Mary Sue-like acting skills can also be nominated. The Golden Globe Awards have become so watery now. Fans are naturally dissatisfied with these slanders. Why are you slandering their family Mian? Their Mian family was shortlisted based on their strength, right? What are the intentions of those people who say there is a shady story? It's because I can't see how their family is doing. Hitui, our Mian was shortlisted based on our own strength, okay. In the comment section, why did she spend money to find a relationship? Before you accuse Mian, you should at least understand how strict the Golden Globe Awards selection is. If you can win an award by spending money to find connections, and it can be the most authoritative and professional award in the industry, and it can also be unanimously recognized by people in the industry. Heezy are all orphans without M, right? They are still blind and can't see Myanmar's acting skills in If You Can't Love. Even the best actor Chin Han and the best actress Shen Fei praised her acting skills, but you can't do it even if you say it's not good? You don't think so? A hammer. Take Mian away, we have no date. Please be merciful, Heezy. Yes, yes, our Mian has no acting skills. We spent money to find connections to get shortlisted. So, is Heezy happy? Is it easy for Mian? She has been in the industry for several years. In the early stage, she was suppressed by her scheming sister and could only do a side job. A passerby who plays a role of soy sauce, finally changed his career and returned to acting as a heroine. He was obviously shortlisted based on his own strength, but he still wants to be spread by such blind and evil people. Let's all die together. After the shortlist for all the Golden Globe Awards was released, Chiao Myanmar's fans and Heezy had an uproar in the comment area. In just half an hour, there were tens of thousands of comments. So, Chiao Myanmar, who had done nothing, became a hot search again due to her special hot search physique. Chiao Myanmar was nominated for Best Actress and was questioned about cheating. End of this chapter.